This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
What's going on, guys? It's time for the WWE Podcast Week in Review here on this 22nd day of December 2024. If you are not done with your Christmas shopping, well, you still got 2 days to do that. And if you're like me, I just did mine today. Maybe I'll finish up tomorrow as right down to the wire. We're right down to the wire if you haven't done your shopping or you're waiting on Amazon to deliver that last second package, waiting with bated breath, tracking them on your phones. That's what we'll be doing the next couple of days. And then hopefully everybody will enjoy their Christmas and wherever you may be in the United States or otherwise. I know we reach many people in many different countries, and hopefully if you celebrate Christmas, then you enjoy it as well. And if you don't, well, I hope your next few days are great. So we got a lot to cover tonight as WWE goes on a bit of a, I don't know if hiatus is the right word, but a bit of a lull period where I don't expect anything significant until the beginning of the year. And that is just the cycle of wrestling this time of year. But hey, the beginning of January, that first show after the new year is always a big one. This year is extra big with the Netflix debut. I mean, they are making this PLE quality, and in some cases bigger than PLE. We have the crossover of Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa for the Ulafala, likely. I do say likely a Rock appearance. If there's any hope of The Rock appearing at WrestleMania this year in any kind of physical capacity, he has to have some say in that matchup, which I believe will be the main event of the show. But you also have a contending main event of Seth Rollins and CM Punk. And there's another match I can't think of off the top of my head. The Women's Championship. I believe it's Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley for the Women's Championship on Raw, the debut of Netflix. So, huge Monday Night Raw coming in the next 2 weeks. So we got 2 weeks until we get a massive, massive Raw. But this week, I would imagine, since it's pre-taped, is not going to be particularly exciting. But we'll see. I have my doubts. I still appreciate them doing it. I'm glad they're not taking a week off and they just doubled up on the shows, pre-taped, and they're airing it this week. But we'll see what they do. Again, nothing earth-shattering likely this week until that January 6th Raw, which is going to kick off WrestleMania. Let's make no mistake about it. This is, even though it's not till the Royal Rumble itself, this is the kickoff to WrestleMania on January 6th. They are looking at this. This is for WWE's, from their perspective, there is not a bigger Raw that they have done, at least in their minds, because of the fact that they're debuting on a new platform, leaving cable television for the first time in decades and going to a streaming service on Netflix. It's going to be very interesting and a lot of fun. I think that this is going to be, it's fun to see what the presentation is going to be like. I don't think it'll be too much different. It is going to be a 3-hour format. So there's that all of us are groaning about, except for those who care about dollars and cents in the company. But if you're a viewer, 3 hours is a bear. Unless you want the cut down version. We'll see if the Hulu comes back or if Netflix does cut down to a abbreviated Raw. I don't know. The Hulu version was very efficient in cutting out the stuff that you didn't need to see and getting rid of commercials. So we'll see if that happens here with Netflix. I got to look at the contractual agreements and who's allowed to show what and copyright infringements and all the stuff that, of course, is going to be covered and has already been covered. I just haven't dug into who can do what. So, with that large introduction, thank you for joining us here on the WWE Podcast. I do appreciate it as we roll into the new year and close out 2024, rolling into 2025. And we've got a lot of wrestling to cover tonight, even though it is kind of a wind down part of the schedule for wrestling, because we're about to wind right back up in a huge way in just 2 weeks. So take a breath for the next week or two. Until we get to that January 6th Raw, we'll hear all the hype. We'll maybe get an additional match or two announced, maybe even a special appearance. Because don't even forget, on top of those 3 massive matches that we've already announced, or WWE's announced, we've got John Cena confirmed for the show. What's he going to do? He's also apparently, John Cena that is, going to be doing a full schedule in 2025, including some house shows. Probably not every house show, but many house shows John Cena will be appearing in. So he's going full bore in 2025. The one question I have for him, and I respect the heck out of that, and he's giving everybody a chance to come see him. He's having a full year. What's the protocol if he gets injured in like week 2? You know, he tears a quad, God forbid, right? Tears a tricep. He's out for 6 months. What's the plan there? I mean, we're all not really thinking about that. We're just thinking, oh, cool, he'll be doing a full year of wrestling. Well, his body is not what it used to be. Despite how well he may be in the gym, how many times he's working out, how much conditioning he's doing, how dialed in his diet is, that all does make a difference. But what supersedes all of that is just father time and the fact that he hasn't been in the ring taking that many bumps in 10 years. So I'm concerned for John Cena in the fact that not that he won't embarrass himself out in the ring. I don't think he will. And on the mic, he hasn't lost a step, but legitimate injury. I mean, I'm very concerned about that. He'll try to hide it the best he can, even if he tweaks or tears some muscle here or there. But I really do worry that within a month, something will happen. Tweak this, pull that. I'm not trying to throw it out in the universe. Looking at this from a realist perspective, it does concern me. And then what's the plan? Are you still retiring in 2025? Are you still done in December? You made that very clear you're done in December. So what's the plan B here? What's the contingency plan? What are you going to do? I would think that he'll just tack on the time he missed to the December 2025 time. So for example, he misses 6 months. He'll retire in June. I mean, I would think that's what he's going to do. My assumption, or maybe he'll go scot-free and not get injured. That would be the best scenario. But of course, sometimes higher powers have different plans, or the universe has different ideas, and something wacky could happen, and John Cena's out, for like 8 months with a torn, a concussion and a torn pec or something is catastrophic. Not wishing for it, not really, not laughing about it. I mean, I'm just thinking about things that could happen that no one's talking about, and something that is in the very, very, very realistic category of things that could happen. All right, on to things that actually did happen, and things that you can listen to on this show that talk about things that happen is on Patreon at patreon.com/WWE podcast if you want to go ad free. Also, Apple Podcast does offer an ad free subscription as well. Both have a 1 week free trial. If you want to just try it before you commit, you can do that. There's also an ad free version on our website at WWEpodcast.com that still exists. Although I don't know why anyone has websites anymore. I feel like if you're a podcast, it doesn't make sense, but maybe I'll change that. All right. So let's get into it. Let's talk about this week. Let's talk about SmackDown. We'll hone in on that and then touch on Raw as we always do. And I want to talk about Kevin Owens off the bat here. He's getting better. He's in the Drew McIntyre category of he has reinvented himself as a heel. Now, we all knew how good he was as a heel, but we had forgotten because he was a babyface for so long. Really, after he faced Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 38 in Dallas, he was essentially a babyface shortly thereafter, and he's been a babyface since. So a little over 2 years he's been on the fan favorite side of things, so we kind of got used to it. Likeable guy, funny on the mic, legitimately funny guy, comedic timing that doesn't always really lend itself to be an attribute of most wrestlers. So that was all good. And then he turns, and we were all waiting for the turn. I mean, Kevin Owens is a guy that you're just waiting for him to turn, and it took him 2 years this time, but he's back. And this time he's darker. He's very much in the Drew McIntyre category of darker, reinvented, deeper heel. And the way that Kevin cut his promo this week, talking about how he took the belt because he deserves it. I mean, that's kind of true with what Cody did. I went over it in depth on my previous show about whether or not people think that that is a sign that Cody could turn heel. I ultimately landed on no, but I could be wrong. And if I am, then sure, this is the origin point. But for me, the Kevin Owens that we're about to see is, and have been seeing, is the best version of him. When he said that he hasn't even snapped yet, I mean, he's using bam maneuvers. Sure, they're not the true pile drivers. They're the safe version, but still, I'm fine with that rather than putting the lives of the men at risk, of course. So having Randy Orton get pile driven, having Cody Rhodes get packaged pile drived into the mat and injuring both men, quote unquote, I think has been awesome. I mean, saying that he hasn't even snapped yet and he's doing these things. Imagine what he's going to do when he does snap. And he's blaming all of us for this version of him, which is, of course, a traditional heel tactic. No accountability. Disperse the blame. You're the victim. You're the hero in your own story. That kind of thing. And it's working well. Kevin Owens is, it does, even as much as I like him, make me want to see somebody actually pummel him in a way, which is tough because I like Kevin so much, but his character is so unlikable right now, and that's a compliment, that there is a small part of me that does want to see Cody get some revenge, just by the traditional nature of a babyface heel dynamic. We want usually the good to overcome evil, usually, right? Depending on, of course, your beliefs and all that and your moral compass. But generally, that's what we wanted to see as humans. We want to see justice prevail. We want good to overcome evil. We want light to outshine darkness. And that's the part of me that's coming through here. So I really like what's happening here. He steals the championship. He's a self-proclaimed champion, blaming us for his actions. And he's saying he hasn't even snapped yet. I mean, it's just great. And I like how they didn't immediately take him out of the title picture. I was concerned. I was really worried that after his inevitable loss, and he did lose to Cody, that he would just go back into the abyss, stay in the upper mid card, and go about his business, occasionally popping into the main event, knowing he's never going to win, and then kicking himself back down, or WWE kicking him back down to the upper mid card, occasionally visiting the main event, and back and forth, right? That's been his lot. But now he's carrying the Winged Eagle Championship. Now, the question is, of course, that was anointed by Triple H to Cody Rhodes for one night only at Saturday Night Main Event. That does not replace Cody's actual WWE Undisputed Championship. So he's carrying around a prop at this point because it's just representative of what Cody has, not actually what Cody has. I think that's an important distinction, but still one that is funny and cool to see the Winged Eagle Championship back. So it's going to be it's just a fun program, and I love what's happening here. And yes, Randy Orton is about to come back, I think. The next matchup that Cody and Kevin have, especially if it's for the championship, you're going to see Randy Orton interfere, cost Kevin, maybe even pile drive Kevin Owens himself, and get some revenge in a big way. And Randy Orton and Kevin Owens will be off to the races with their program. And maybe it'll lead to a Rumble match, but more than likely it'll lead to them in the Rumble interacting with one another. I think they're too big a name to have just a one-on-one match and forsake them in the Royal Rumble. So anyway, Kevin Owens, I spent a lot of time on that, but I just absolutely loved it. It was great. Now, another topic here that I want to touch on, and I've been pretty vocal about this in the past. Of course, we know Bianca and Naomi are the tag team champions. Can Bianca, is WWE on a mission to just suffocate and suppress Bianca Belair into the women's tag team division? Why are they so hell-bent on having Bianca in the tag team division? Is it simply for this Jade Cargill story? Is it simply because they want her and Naomi to be tag team champions, leading to a story of Jade finding out that, they purposely did this so Jade would be put on the shelf so that she could claim, especially maybe it's Naomi, so Naomi could reclaim the championship that she felt was rightfully hers, and it could be Naomi ultimately revealed as the assailant. She seems to be suspect, number one, and that'd be fine with me. Naomi versus Jade, fine, okay, but more importantly, beyond whatever this is for with the Jade story, I was so excited when Bianca was finally released of her chains, only to be brought back in. She escaped from jail and then was caught and dragged back into her cell, metaphorically speaking, of course, back into the just complete I mean, compared to what she could do with the singles division and what she has done in the past, back to irrelevancy is too strong of a word. Back to, I guess, a demotion is probably a better word for Bianca. Now, I'm still of the belief she should turn heel. I don't want her back in the division to swing her hair and skip to the ring like she's 12. I really despise that. She's too old to do that kind of stuff. She's, 36 years old. Come on. I'm sorry. Your character needs to grow up. But when she gets in the ring, man, I mean, there's nobody better. I challenge you to find a woman in the company that is better in the ring than Bianca Belair. Sure, everything's subjective, but she's incredible. And we know what she can do. And she's been out of the title picture for so long, for a singles belt anyway, that it feels fresh. It would feel very fresh if she's back into the fold. She's been just kind of subjugated to this tag team purgatory. Get her out. Jade Cargill, if that's the end goal, is not worth it. It's not worth it. She's done. Not Jade in the company, but Bianca in the tag team division. She's done with this. She's paid her dues, for God's sakes. I don't know what their just hell-bent motive is with having Bianca Belair needs to be a tag team champion. Absolutely must be in a tag team. If you could design a character inside the ring and what they're capable of, and character-wise, and veteran status-wise, somebody who should be the opposite candidate for somebody who should be in a tag team to help hone their skills and get minutes in the ring and all that, Bianca Belair would be that character. She knows who and what she is. She's good to very good on the mic at times. And as I said, she's number one in the ring. There's nobody you could design better to be that example of someone you should not put in a tag team. I understand, the women's tag team division always needs help. Yeah, it does, constantly, just like the men's. But that doesn't mean you need to try to bolster the women's tag team division at all costs. That's not the message here. So I'll leave it there. I think I've made my point. I don't know when I saw her win the tag team championship, I'm like, dude, no. Just, unless there's something going on that I'm not aware of at this point, and that may be it. I've kind of landed maybe on, there's something going on. She might have heat backstage. I'm not trying to start rumors, but I'm trying to grasp at straws here to figure out what the hell's going on. All right. And Charlotte Flair. She's always floating out there, but maybe not. Maybe Charlotte Flair's just kind of quietly retired. Who knows? As I've said many times, I'm done predicting her coming back, which of course is when it'll happen. Okay. So anyway, Nia Jax got busted open this week in the tag team match. That was fun to see because, number one, I'm just a glutton for brutality, and obviously she seemed okay. It seemed like she was just a superficial cut, but Nia's done the best she can, I think, with her run. She may be coming to a close sometime soon. In the ring, I think she has improved. It seems like she's lost a little bit of weight, which is nothing but a positive. I mean, just for her and her own body and the safety of her and her opponent in the ring, I think it's a net positive. Because when you have women that are in a completely different tempo and pacing in the ring, working with the women that they normally work with 95% of the time, which are women that are also in about the same shape they are, the pacing, the timing. Whereas when you work with Nia, you have to totally adjust your timing and style to her because she can adjust to you. You can't adjust to her, or rather the opposite. Rather, she can adjust to you, but you can't adjust to her because she is a woman built with power. You can't move in slow motion. She has to be the one to slow the match down, and then you follow her. So it's a bit of a interesting tempo when Nia's in the ring, but it's not a complaint. In fact, I think it's a refresher. I don't know, what are the words? It's refreshing. I'll hit it there. 3 times is a charm. It's refreshing because her tempo is different. It's not the same style as when you see the ultra-athletic women that are in the ring facing one another. Nia slows the tempo, and that's a positive. I think actually her size is one of her biggest assets. And so, I mean, I've continued to say that, despite the fact I haven't really enjoyed what she's, on a outside of the ring perspective. Inside the ring, I don't want her to try to drop weight to look like everyone else. In fact, I think that would be a detriment. So, all right. Anyway, I made my point. Moving on. Let's talk about LA Knight. Shinsuke Nakamura attacks him in a 6-man tag with the Bloodline, and we have Solo Sikoa get the victory, as he should. He's about to face Roman Reigns. He's going to look strong this week or last week and the following week, and leading into January 6th, he's going to. So Shinsuke Nakamura continues to rear his head, continues to be a thorn in the side of LA Knight. Do I think he'll ultimately be victorious in that program? I mean, he's already U.S. champion. I would think he probably will be, because LA Knight's moving on to the Rumble. His focus will turn to the Rumble shortly. Now, we all need to remember the Royal Rumble is February 1st. Okay, the latest I can ever remember in my 25 years of watching wrestling. This is the latest the Royal Rumble for me in my memory has ever been. So February 1st is when the Royal Rumble is, which means they could easily blow this program off with a Shinsuke and LA Knight prior to heading into the Rumble, so that they're not having an official match at the Rumble, which I don't think they would. So you're having that. And that makes sense to me, because LA Knight, I still believe, will be in the final 5, 6, even final 4 of the Royal Rumble. Of course, you could have The Rock in there. You likely will have Roman Reigns in there. You'll probably have John Cena in there. It's going to be a star-studded Royal Rumble for sure. And LA Knight could be a part of that. He won't win, but he'll be in the conversation. It'll elevate him a little bit. So I think his focus will shift to the Rumble after this Shinsuke match, presumably before the Rumble on SmackDown. The blow-off happens and LA Knight retains the U.S. Championship, and we move on. So let's talk about Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, just like Kevin Owens, seem to be kind of one and the same here. I love everything that he does. Everything he does is more, I think it's more impactful than anything he did as a babyface. And that's not to undersell what he did as a babyface. He carried the company during the pandemic era. He was a hell of a champion. I feel bad for him that he was in front of nobody when he won against Brock. I feel bad. And we all did. And he had that moment in his home country with the WWE Undisputed World Heavyweight Champion, Universal Undisputed. Remember when it had like 14 names attached to it before they just shortened it to Undisputed WWE title? When Roman Reigns carried the double championship and he was about to win 2.5 years ago at Clash at the Castle, and that's when Solo Sikoa comes in, screws him out of the championship, and Drew continues to bring that up. I love that. I love his character, and we'll talk more about that and what he said to Solo in a second. But I love when we talk about history and rewarding fans who pay attention to history, who have watched for some time now, or maybe fans at home who are sitting there going, wait a minute. Yeah, why? If Drew had suddenly just sided with Solo because he hates Roman or hates Sammy or hates Jay or hates Jimmy, well, why would he do that when he's the guy that screwed him in front of his home, his entire family? And if it was the Vince McMahon era still, I think that would have been a total oversight, or just we don't care. But in the new regime here, this is the kind of detail, which is not even really it's not even like a fine powder detail. It's like a pretty big chapter in Drew's life that I think would have been totally overlooked or brushed aside by the Vince McMahon regime, is not by this one. By the Triple H regime, as we'll call it, or I guess we're moving into the Netflix era, so I don't know if people are going to refer to it as the Netflix era or if we'll refer to it still as the Paul Levesque era or Triple H era. We'll see. Of course, we won't know until we're out of it, and then we'll label it after. Seems to be how things work. But this, to me, with Drew, This chapter of his life that they continue to bring back up makes total sense, and it also fits his character perfectly, holding on to grudges. He's been very consistent with this one. It's not like a total about face on the topic where he's made amends and he was friends with Solo and now suddenly he hates him again. No. There was no point at which he aligned himself with Solo Sikoa in the bloodline. Ever. In fact, when Jay came to Raw, remember when Drew, that's when he started to go down, when Jay came to Raw because Cody, quote-unquote, cashed in his political chips. Boy, I mean, talk about hitting it right on the nose with the Cody character. But that happened, a year and a half ago? Jay comes to Raw, and Drew still didn't trust him. Jay and Drew had many fights backstage in the ring because of what Jay did to him while he was in the bloodline, screwing him out of championships, beating him down when he was with Roman. Sami, same thing. He's attacking Sami Zayn. I love this. You know who seems to be aligned also with Drew? Seth Rollins. And boy, I know CM Punk and Seth Rollins right now are in a program, but I will say a Seth-Drew alliance, where do I sign? They would be an amazing pairing. They have a common enemy, a common hatred. They've had their matches in the past, but it hasn't been anything personal. Nothing that you could get over or couldn't get over. Nothing that wouldn't really align with their morals as characters. Seth hasn't been a heel in how many years? Since he was the Monday Night Messiah? Was that when he was last a heel, when he gouged out Rey Mysterio's eye during the pandemic era? Was that the last time? It might be. It's been a few years, 4 years now, 5 years, since Seth has been a heel. It might be time. Because the last heel turn I remember, yes, we had the Monday Night Messiah, but before that, he aligned himself with AOP. He was the guy in the back of the truck. And I thought it was brilliant. And then obviously the pandemic hit and, S hit the fan. But this could be a new beginning for Seth. I think his babyface character has run its course. I think the fans will side ultimately with Punk if they're forced between Punk and Rollins. I think he knows that. And this could be the start of a turn for Seth after he loses to Punk, if he does, and I guess he will. Early call. You're going to have him, I think, snap, and he's going to align himself with Drew to help take out Sami and the rest of the bloodline, eventually getting to Roman. Again, we're many steps from that. But if you're going to force me to choose or guess, prognosticate outwards, that would be my guess. And I just think it would be a hell of a pairing. And be a two-man power trip of sorts from the 2002 days of Triple H and Stone Cold that no one saw coming. So back to SmackDown as we rewind it here. We had Drew and Solo. Solo was coming out and talking about how he's going to beat Roman Reigns and he's going to maintain the Ulafala and he's going to be the tribal chief. And hyping up the January 6th version of Raw. And Drew is coming out and saying that his brain and his heart are torn because his brain is saying that, he should just assault you right now, but his heart is saying we have a common enemy. So he doesn't ultimately assault Solo, but he was torn by it because of the past that Solo has had with Drew, screwing him 2.5 years ago. And that was a conundrum that Drew was wrestling with. Ultimately, Drew did get attacked, though. It was by Jimmy on a crutch, and we had Drew get, essentially, he ran from the arena. But it was an effective segment, one that did bring Drew into the Bloodlines universe. It brought Drew into the conversation of maybe Drew could do this or do that. And I think that's an important point. I don't think he'll attack Solo right away. He's a heel. Drew's a heel. Kind of a weird, messy substance here. Drew seemed to be more focused at this point on taking out the OG Bloodline members, and he said so. And then he said, we'll settle our differences. So they'll eventually get to Drew and Solo. But right now, his hatred for the OG Bloodline is greater, and therefore he will avenge his loss with them first. But again, Seth fits the mold perfectly. Once he's done with Punk, I think he shifts his focus. So, another really fun segment with Drew. He's just at the top of his game, and I'm loving every second of what Drew is doing. Can he be a little boring, a little predictable? I mean, I don't know what you expect him to do. This is his character. He's doing and saying things also on social media that are just so much fun, insulting fans. Going on that, the Busted Open podcast a couple of weeks ago and dropping an F-bomb. And just, you don't know who, rather, here's what Drew's doing. And this is what I appreciate. And it's something that is really difficult to do at this day and age because the curtain has been pulled back so much, so often, that you didn't think you'd be able to ever piece back together what he's doing. And what he's doing is, once again, blurring the lines between reality and fiction. He's trying to resurrect kayfabe. And I think to some degree he has done that. Not fully. But you don't know, especially when he's not on a WWE broadcast, if he's on a podcast, if he's in character, or if this is truly Drew, or if it's a mix of both. You just don't know, and that is something you don't see. Boy, you don't see that. And it just, you know what it's got? It's got people like me talking, which is ultimately drawing more attention to it, to him, and to the company, which is ultimately all they care about, which is fine. They're a company. They want attention because attention means eyeballs, which means money, and I have no problem contributing to that. So, whatever, man. I loved, and I continue to love what Drew's doing. I don't want him to ever waver, at least not right now, from this character. It's great. It's just a lot of fun. I don't know how, well, let me know what you guys think. Maybe I'm overstating and overblowing it. But when Drew comes out, I pay attention. You just never know what he's going to do. You just don't know. Or what he's going to say. And he's a heel that tells the truth. That's also something that's been missing for years. A heel that's a badass that can beat you, but also tells the truth. Wow, what a nasty combo. Just nasty. Straight nasty. Okay, some other things that happened on SmackDown. Johnny Gargano versus Alex Shelley. And Johnny Gargano won at 10 minutes and 40 seconds. And after he pulled the tights. After the match, we got highlights about Raw on Netflix, of course. And so, yeah. We also had Braun Strowman. He's back. He's back to dress up as Santa, I guess. And I know one year they had him actually dress up as Elf, trying to mimic the movie Elf. With was 2003, I think, is the movie. Pretty sure with Will Ferrell. Oh, wow. Is that? Yeah, it is. Oh, my God. 22 years ago. It's almost 22, 21. But regardless, I guess he's brought in to just be Santa's helper every single year. I don't need to see him throwing palm trees at Carmelo Hayes. Okay, if you guys like this kind of stuff, cool. I've always despised any kind of comedic attempt at making a wrestler funny or entertaining in a way that makes him dress up as Santa. Or food fights for the 4th of July. We've seen that. Gravy Bowl matches. We've seen that. The list goes on and on and on of the things that we've seen like that. It's just, it's not even close to what I watch wrestling for. In fact, I'd be so embarrassed if I was trying to get somebody to watch wrestling and they saw that segment. I'd be secondhand embarrassed. I hate this. I just hate that crap. But if you guys like it, and I mean this sincerely, then, cool. If you got a kick out of it, you enjoyed it, you thought it was entertaining, more power to you. Just not for me by any stretch. However, we did get a match here with Carmelo Hayes and Braun Strowman, where Carmelo Hayes won by about a second because of a count out at 3 minutes and 45 seconds. So Carmelo Hayes, I guess playing the heel here, gets a victory. All right, let's talk about Raw a little bit. And there was the Seth Rollins and CM Punk brawl. one of the highlights of the show, for sure, as that finally came to blows, and we have a brawl, pull-apart brawl that WWE has done so well over seemingly every single week. Of course, we're not going to talk about even... I don't know why I bother talking about crossover either. Like, specifically when Drew came to SmackDown, they are pretending that there's this transfer period. There's been a transfer period since the day they drafted both rosters. I mean, I'm going to move on. However, we had the brawl. We had a fun promo between the two that I think is just going to continue to get better. I think these two are not done on the mic, and I hope that they're not. Given we also have only another week of hype before we get to that matchup, I think that there are still some things that need to be said between the two. And it does make you wonder, too, is this the blow-off? Is this the only match they're going to have for foreseeable future? Is this the reason that they're doing it, to not only pump up the Monday Night Raw for Netflix, which, of course, they're trying to make as big as possible, and rightfully so, but really, is it to free them both for WrestleMania because WWE has separate plans for them at WrestleMania? I've been on that side. If you listen to the show, I've been kind of leaning towards that side of the logic or path, because Seth could ultimately face Roman. We could have Drew and Seth face Roman and company. We could have The Rock face Roman. We could have Punk and Gunther. We could have Gunther and Punk and Seth in a triple threat for the world title. So many ways. But ultimately, are they getting this match out of the way so that they can tell us, well, you got the match? It depends how the match ends, that's for sure. We did have Braun Breaker and Ludwig Kaiser for the Intercontinental Championship. Really, I thought this match was a lot of fun. And they certainly gave them enough time here in about 18 minutes. Braun Breaker does win, and he won clean. He did win clean. It went double the time of the Saturday Night Main Event match, but that's fine for me. I think that these two deserved it. Kaiser had his best match, I think, to date. And I think that, sure, many people didn't believe Kaiser could win. And I didn't think he would, but there's a case to be made for him to. It just seems too soon, given the fact that Breaker won back the championship from Jay about 6 weeks ago, after he lost it a month before that. I mean, so I think there's time for Kaiser to grow, and this match helped him grow, even in a loss. So that's, I think, a win-win here. Of course, Kofi and Xavier, they got booed out of the building. Backstage, they weren't allowed in the locker room, as if everyone else are just some moral beacons of light. However, still a lot of fun seeing the New Day get booed. The crowd, I mean, here's the thing I was worried about. The crowd is, and I'm certainly not in this camp, but there's been so many, especially the younger ones, that have been so in love with the New Day for so long that they wouldn't buy into the heel turn, and that they would still cheer for Kofi and Xavier, and that's not happening. So the execution has been good. They've changed their attire. They've changed their demeanor. They are no longer the happy-go-lucky, pancake-throwing, trombone-flailing D-bags. That's the absolute nicest term I could come up with. But rather, a much more serious, darker version that has clearly set the WWE fans against them. I don't hear anyone cheering for New Day anymore. Everybody wants Big E to return. I think we'll get that moment in the Royal Rumble. And it's set things in motion where you can make a case for both of these men to face Big E separately. A handicap match. That's the thing, and I continue to try to figure this part out, is if Big E is the ultimate return here to face these two, well, you can have a handicap match maybe once, but Big E's going to have to find some help. So who's that person? Who is that person to help Big E? Eventually that 2-on-1 scenario is going to get old. Big E's going to get beat down. Who is coming to make the save? Who's the knight in shining armor for Big E? And I don't know that answer yet. So, okay, but I'm loving this. Continuing to just not take blame for what they've done. It's on Big E, and it's fun. I will, and I'll just end with this. The breakout star from this had better be Xavier Woods. I understand that they're focusing on the return of Big E, and it is a big deal coming back from a neck injury, if it indeed it happens. If. Kofi, we know what he is, although I am enjoying this heel character much more than his insufferable, just completely childish character he played for a decade. The Xavier Woods, to me, is the focus of how I would move forward. Yes, again, Big E is the big babyface return. But boy, Xavier has a lot left in the tank and a lot more to show, I think, as a heel. All right. We had then a bunch of hype, of course, all over the place for the January 6th version of Raw. I mean, just it's extremely heavy-handed at this point. We then have Ripley come out and talk about how she's going to take that championship. Adam Pearce has made it official. She called Dom the little chicken tender S. Can't say the word on the show, but you know what I'm talking about. Let's see. Kaden Carter versus Raquel versus Zoe Stark in a women's IC title tournament match. This had Zoe Stark win. Sloppy match. Not great. But Zoe Stark wins to move on. We then have, let's see here, Finn Balor and JD McDonough versus the War Raiders for the World Tag Team Championships. And that's when the War Raiders, Eric and Ivar, beat Finn Balor and JD McDonough in 16 minutes and 15 seconds to win the World Tag Team titles. After the match, Priest applauded the new champions. He had an impact here on the match. Pyro shut off, and Eric and Ivar held with the belts to close the show. So, again, not the biggest episode of Raw in the world, but with Punk and Rollins pretty much being official, it is official now for January 6th. And things heating up with Priest and Balor. We have hopefully the final conclusion of Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley happening also on the January 6th version of Raw. Again, 3 massive matches on top of a confirmed John Cena appearance. It's already a big show. I mean, this is where 3 hours of content isn't bad. Where it does become laborious is when they don't have all this star power that they can use at their disposal, and they have to come up with 3 hours of content that way, which obviously they did for years. That's when it's hard. So I don't envy that position. To be in the creative team of WWE, I would want nothing to do with that. Keep me out. I'm out, right? Like, peace. But anyway, as fans, I guess we can sit here and critique with absolutely no consequence as we make our predictions and give our thoughts on what we think should happen with no insight, right? So we're totally risk-free. So anyway, that'll do it for the WWE podcast here. I know, again, many of you say, oh, you didn't talk about this or that, or you missed this. And I appreciate that stuff. If there are things, and I know there are, that I did not discuss on the show, as it's only about 40, 45 minutes usually, you can email the show, mailbag@wwepodcast.com. Give me your topic. Say, hey, you didn't talk about this. How did you not talk about this? You missed this? Definitely send it my way. I'll be happy to discuss it on my mailbag that I drop every single Friday. And if you want to become a patron and get priority placement in the mailbag, meaning I read your emails up front, head on over to Patreon and become a member. That benefit is, even at the lowest tier, available to you. All right. That'll do it for me, everybody. I hope that you enjoy. If you don't hear from me, I enjoy your Christmas. I'll still be doing a review on Christmas Eve for Monday Night Raw, so that'll still be happening. And then, of course, Christmas Day, I don't know if I'll be posting, maybe a rerun of something as a Christmas special of sorts. But until that time, I won't be doing a show live until Friday. So I'll be doing a Tuesday Raw review. Friday will be the mailbag. And that's when I'll read your emails if you decide to send one in. All right, that'll do it for me. Thanks so much, everybody, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.